Let's talk about how I would start a social media marketing company in 2024. We're going to be using a unique approach that I used in a previous video, and I had such a fun time doing it. We're just going to do it again, but for a different city. Last time we focused on a random city in Kenya. This time, I have no idea where we're going, but we're going to behave as if we've moved to a random city in the world and we're trying to start a social media marketing company. A quick disclaimer before we dive in, this is not advice, and I do not have a lot of expertise in this field. I have seen some productized social media marketing companies struggle to find customers, and we're going to be pulling a little bit from their learning as we walk through this, but by no means is this education. This is purely for entertainment and brainstorming. I'm only talking about what I personally would do, and I'm not advocating for you to do anything, despite the words I may use in this video. Let's first look at what makes this video a little bit different than other videos I've seen. The first thing, and thanks to Visualize Value for these graphics, they are absolutely stunning. One of my favorite graphics companies when it comes to life lessons, is we're going to be thinking about this instead of as a service, as a product. What's the difference? A service is kind of how I've seen a lot of different social media marketing go. One of my friends will say, "Hey, you're really good at social media. Can you manage my business account?" I add their account to my Instagram. I switch between the profiles. I make a new post. Each post takes me, let's say, 4 hours. If it's a really high quality post, I need to take the photo or I need to take the video. I need to edit the reel. I need to add captions. I need to manage comments. It takes a long time. Along with that, I have maybe another 2 accounts that I'm managing. Each service that I'm managing is substantially different and takes additional time. What we're going to be doing in this video is thinking about it as a product. How can we standardize our approach so we can scale quickly? I want it to be as easy to manage 100 businesses as it is to manage 10. I don't want there to be a huge additional time investment for each business. Part of that is going to be the tools, but we're saving that for the end. We're going to try to get started right away. So to start out, you can see that we're diving right in to defining our customers before we ever think about setting up. Why? Because my usual approach is I'm a perfectionist. Before I would even consider marketing myself to any small business or working with anyone or asking for payment, I would think to myself, well, you need a setup. You need a website, you need a nice landing page, you need social media followers of your own. All of these voices in my head are really the perfectionist saying, you just wait, and a lot of times I felt like that was fear talking to me. Instead, if I had been honest with my customers and said, "Hey, I don't have much experience, but yeah, let's do this. I'm learning, but you get a free service," or exchanging value this way. I'm iterating and I'm seeing what the market is interested in. So that's kind of the mindset that we're going to take into this video is I'm not an expert, but I can iterate, and by experiencing what's actually going on in the market, I'm able to understand it a lot faster than if I'm a perfectionist. What's the saying? All the research in the world, doesn't match one day of actual experience, something like that. That's why we're starting out by defining our customers. So I've already kind of defined them here with small businesses. This is where I see a lot of people, including myself, stop. Hey, my customer is anybody and everybody. We can help anybody. If you're a roofing company or if you're a tiling company, we can help you just as much as we can help a cafe. Unfortunately, I haven't had much success with that approach. It wasn't until I read Niching Up by Chris Dreyer last year that I realized that there's more value, and he really helped me see the light here. There's more value in niching down, which is so counterintuitive because I always think with this massive, grandiose scale in mind of, I want to build the next Facebook. I want to build the next Google. I want to serve everyone. But if I really look at those companies, they didn't start as that. They niched down. They started as just serving a college dormitory. So the first thing I'm going to do is niche down to just cafes. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about this book in a second here. I'm niching down to just cafes, and there's probably more than 1 million cafes in the world. And there's probably more than 100 social media marketing companies that have some amount of expertise in cafes. So that is a little bit too rough of a market for me to try to enter as a beginner. So I want to niche down even more. I want when someone thinks to themselves, I need a social media marketing person or company for my cold brew, a type of coffee drink, for my cold brew. I want me to be the only company they think about. And now we see a little bit of the subtitle behind this book play. The narrower the market, the bigger the prize. My demand for pricing can be so much higher if I am known as the only person in the world who's done, 1,000 social media marketing campaigns about just cold brew. If I'm one of 100 cafe social media companies, I'm not going to be as valuable. The other thing that I've had to change my mindset on here is there's two types of niching down I can do. I used to think like this: cafes or where I'm at, my city name, my geographical location. I've changed my mindset now to use that and include that in my niche. So now I can say cold brew cafes only in my city. And you're going to see exactly how we're going to use that in just a second where we select the city. After we select the city, we're going to uncover my hidden third option here, which is question marks right now. And then we're going to go into the fourth option where we're going to talk through the base tool stack, how I would find the tool, how I would just start to set up the actual tools. And this is the part I enjoy the most. So let's head over to our random city generator. Thank you to, I think this is remotravels.com for creating this. So I have no idea what this is going to pick. Let's do it. Moscow, Russia. Wow, okay. So from here, let's go ahead and do some investigation of the market. So the very first thing I'm going to do, since I don't know anything about it, is Moscow, Russia. You know what? Actually, cancel that. We're picking another city. I want it to be a little bit less well known. I feel like Moscow is too obvious. So here we go. Tetuan, Morocco. So North Africa. I'm familiar enough to know that, but I've never been there. I'm not familiar with it. Let's go ahead and look at the map. Where are we at? All right, so we are right under Spain, at the tip of Morocco, or towards the tip of Morocco. And we are going to start by doing a little bit, just a smidge, of market research. So let's look up Tetuan, Morocco, social media marketing. And for this, the reason I'm looking this up is because I've changed my mindset completely on how I view competitors in the technology space. I used to view it as if I found another, marketing agency, like it looks like this one is, I would stop my idea completely because, oh, well, Brandle, they already have Morocco covered, so there's no point in me making another company. I'll talk about why that was a mistake in a second. I'm just going to scroll down here and open a few of these pages. Let's go ahead and open this one. And I've opened this page as well, metropolis.ma. Love that brand name. We're going to talk about brand names towards the end here. And I have a few interesting thoughts there. Don't necessarily match up. So best solution for my business, the digital agency. Awesome. They do app development, they do UI design, digital marketing. So hopefully I can click into digital marketing here. Okay, maybe not. Wow, so a really awesome product here. But the great news for us is they don't only focus on digital marketing. So now this I see as a benefit more than a potential problem, because maybe there's things that our clients ask for that we can't serve, and maybe we can work with Metropolis to say, hey, go talk to them for a website, or go talk to them for CCTV installation. Let's check out the other option here, Brandle. So fortunately, it doesn't look like this is specific to Morocco, so that's awesome. All right, now let's go back to what I was talking about, where I just gave up on ideas. Something that stopped me from doing that was a tweet that said, I can't recall what the restaurant type was, but we'll use cafes for this example. Do cafes not open if there's already one cafe in the city? And the answer to that is obviously, as we can see, no. If Napolia sees that they have a competitor of Cafeina and Cafe Antica, they're still probably going to open because they know that there's enough business in the city that they can have plenty of, customers and plenty of options. So why would digital marketing or social media marketing be any different? For this city, let's check the population quickly. We have 380,000, potential customers, maybe more or maybe less since this was a while ago. But we have so much opportunity. So if there is only 1 to 2 digital marketing agencies, maybe that's a great sign because the market is there, and we also have room to hop into the market and do our own thing. So we've niched down. Now that we've searched for cafes in the city, and there's more than enough cafes. The next thing I would do here is I would start just looking up these cafes on Instagram and Facebook and kind of see what is currently happening. I don't know if I'll be able to get into Instagram without being logged in, but we can try. Yeah, okay. So I got blocked by a login, but that's all right. So we have a whole bunch of options to work with these cafes. So what I would personally do is I would personally go and visit and maybe talk to the owner if I'm lucky. And I'm basically going to tell the owner exactly what I'm doing. I'm not trying to pitch anything, and I'm not trying to sell anything. I am trying to do free social media management, which you might click away when you hear that, but hear me out. Free social media management, maybe in exchange for a drink or two, but my pitch is essentially going to be, hey, I'm trying to start a social media management company or a social media marketing company here in Tetuan, and I would love to be, I would love for your cafe to be my first client. I'm still learning. I'm probably going to make mistakes, but I will take care of all of your social media needs. You won't have to think about it at all. You won't have to put any time into training me. I'm doing it all for free. If I'm successful, all I'm asking for is some sort of testimonial back, or maybe you tell your friend. If that's too much to ask, no worries. This might be a hard sell. I've gotten some declines even for offering my services completely for free, and that happens. But eventually, we're just trying to get one yes, because we have zero proof that we know what we're talking about here, right? If you already have a portfolio, I think this is a little bit different, but I really did in the past underestimate how useful it is to target a specific geographical local area. And you might be thinking, oh, but my service isn't needed in my city. Well, almost no matter what it is, especially for social media marketing or a marketing agency, every city can use that. Even tourism boards like to hire marketing agencies. So after I've had this discussion with this cafe owner, now it's time to actually get into the fun part. Let's quickly reveal our 3 here. So what we just did there and what we just discussed is we made friends. We asked our friends, we talked to cafe owners, and we made a friend that's going to let us essentially experiment on their business, which is a big risk for them. We're offering it for free, and we're getting testimonials, which is proof of work. And the key part here is I've seen some examples of folks that set up a website and start charging, and they learn as they go. I personally can't advocate, and I kind of advocate against this approach because it can be disingenuous, and ultimately small businesses have a hard enough time. So I would rather be honest and give something away for free at first and then eventually make some profit. But I understand, there may be money concerns or something like that, but I believe being transparent and honest about that is the best way to make a sustainable and growable company. Speaking of money concerns, now we're going to dive into the actual setup and how I would start scaling this. A large part of this is because we're going to be using these tools for the first time. And so I would never, choose to charge a client for a tool that I'm still learning. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to AppSumo, which some people may roll their eyes, but I personally like it. AppSumo is a place where you can buy products that traditionally are charged monthly. You can buy them for life. That's the big selling point and differentiator on AppSumo. So Marky, this product here, or Follower are both social media apps. I'm going to open them both. And I'm just going to tell you what I look for when I go through these apps. So the first thing I'm looking for is this actually what I need? Okay. So they help me post content on every social media platform. I'm going to scroll down and open their website. And I'm also going to see which tools they integrate with. Awesome. So we can see here that they integrate with Facebook, Instagram, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, Pinterest, and Google Business. Google Business really catches my eye because awesome, oh, it looks like that's actually in development. So hopefully they're working on it. And that is the danger of AppSumo. Sometimes you have really new products. You're getting them for a far cheaper price, but that's partially because they might not be completely finished yet. And so you're kind of a beta or alpha test user. But the benefit is if Marky happens to succeed in a major way, for the life of the company, or for the life of this deal, you're going to be able to have, for only $400, 50 brands on this platform. And if we compare that to a normal price that they're charging, we can see, $19 a month if I find Marky organically. If I don't know about AppSumo, $38 a month or $164 a month. So pretty much in 4 months of payments, I can just buy this for a lifetime deal. So that's why I'm a fan. The other thing I think about with starting my own company or social media management is back to that. I want to be able to manage 100 or 50 businesses for the same pain as it takes to manage one. And so I'm looking for things that aren't killing me with monthly costs. I don't want to think about, oh, I have to budget every single month. I want something where I can buy it once and then use it for the life of my company or as many brands as I want. So here, let's say that I purchased this tool and I've looked into this and it kind of automates and it posts to all the social media accounts, and it looks super professional. It looks awesome. They schedule it for me, everything like that. So now I'm going to buy this app and I'm going to start working with let's say this company, Amazing Coffee by Amazon. I can also look into these other tools on AppSumo. So from here, now we're going to say, what is the struggles? So let's say I have a couple clients. What are the struggles of our typical small business owner? And how can we start to serve them at scale and recruit at scale and come off a little bit more professionally? Because now the question becomes, we have our first client, and maybe we have 5 other clients that aren't paying much. Now we want to start to establish trust and be able to post those testimonials. So now we're going to talk about the exact tools or process that I would use to buy a domain, set up a professional email, everything like that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to think about what small business owners are searching for in my town. So my town is called, I'm just going to need to copy the name here, pardon me. So my town is called Tetuan, and I want this to be the easiest it can possibly be for small business owners to know what I do. So here we're going to look at buying a domain, and we're going to say tetuansocialmedia.com. For me, I almost exclusively now buy .coms because everyone is used to typing those and they've been around 20 plus years. So this you might look at and say like, oh my goodness, that's so boring, that's so exhausting. Let's compare that to a branded company name. So with this name, if I'm at a conference and I say, oh, I work for tetuansocialmedia.com, the business owner, by me saying in my website, knows exactly what I do. Tetuansocialmedia.com probably doesn't handle camping supplies. There's a very low chance of that. They probably handle social media for Tetuan. So a common thing that I might hear if I recommend this is, what if I want to scale outside of Tetuan? That's okay. We can redirect our domain to companyname.com when we get there. But let's not sacrifice perfect for good or perfect for done. Let's cross that bridge when we get there, because what we really don't want to do is we don't want to be educating our customers on 2 things at once. So let's compare tetuansocialmedia.com to let's see. We're just going to generate 10 cool names of North African animals for my brand. We're going to use Perplexity here, and this is called labs.perplexity.ai. And this is a free resource provided by Perplexity, no login needed, nothing like that, where I can just use AI for free. So I wanted to show that as part of this video. I use it all the time for things exactly like this where I need to brainstorm. We're going to be coming back to this in a second, but this is your 10-second intro to Perplexity Labs. It also can browse online, and you can choose different models, which are kind of like different models of cars. They're good at different things, except these are language models. So something like GPT-4 is different than Cloud 3 Haiku. So just some options here. So back to our branding discussion. So let's say, this sounds pretty cool, Hynix. So let's say that we are trying to debate these brand names. So personally, I would always choose HynixMedia.com in the past. Now I've been following Peter Askew, also known as the Onion Guy, also known as Searchbound on Twitter for maybe a year or more now, and he's convinced me that why would I want to fight two battles at once? I can either own tattooonsocialmedia.com, which never needs to be explained to a customer. When they type it in, they understand what my business does just by where I live on my domain. Or do I want to explain to 1,000 customers every month that Hynix Media is Tattoo on Social Media? Not really. So it became a question that I had to ask myself, is the brand name worth sacrificing potential clients or customers, or can I just own the entire niche of Tattoo on Social Media and never have to explain what my brand does? So after I bought my domain, which again, I'm going to start with this, and the key thing is, good is better than perfect. Good and done is better than perfect and not done. And what I'm going to do is, let's say for the first year or two of work, I'm going to use this. I'm going to get a whole bunch of local clients, and then eventually what I'm going to do with all that trust is I'm going to launch Hynix Media. Okay, oops, the link didn't paste correctly. But eventually I'm going to launch that, and it's going to be a worldwide brand, and it's going to be awesome, and everybody's going to love it. But right now, let's just focus on bringing something into the world. So what's my next step? Now I want to think about conferences. So, or meeting cafe owners in person, or emailing them to market to them. I'm not a huge fan of just blasting out huge amounts of cold emails, but what I am a fan of is a professional online presence. And especially in a small city or a decent sized city, I think this can go far. I've recently been having a lot of success with it. So let's go ahead and grab the domain here. So imagine this situation with me for a moment. So you're at a conference, and I come up to you and I say, hey, I'm from Tattoo on Social Media. We have a great conversation, we have some coffee together, things are good. Then at the end, you're like, okay, cool, how can my business work with you? How can I contact you? And I say, oh, just email me at, hi@tattooonsocialmedia.com, and you see that email address. Kind of pay attention. How do you feel when you see that? I feel like, okay, that's a long domain, but I also feel like, whoa, okay, interesting, they have a whole website. And later, I'm going to go type this website in and see what it's about. I also am going to have an easy time because I'm just going to type in, hi at this website, and that's going to automatically email the company, right? Just like any other email. Contrast that to something like a Gmail or a Hotmail address. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but what I am saying is I do get a completely different feeling when one is given to me versus the other. When somebody gives me the first email at a custom domain, I get such a different feeling, and I almost always visit the website. What I've noticed when I email people from my custom domain emails is I get responses like, oh, hey, wow, that's a cool domain, or, oh, wow, nice website, stuff like that. Instead of at this Gmail address, I'm not really going to get that very often. I don't mean to brag, it's just a huge thing that I've noticed. And now I go into it with the mindset of every time I send an email, I'm potentially landing a client because every email I send is a visit to my website, which is great if you're emailing the right people, right? So let's talk about how I would set that up. A very common recommendation, sorry, I want to get rid of this. There we go. A very common recommendation that I see is go with a no-code builder like Card or Framer. And I'm just going to go into these quick to talk about pricing. If you recall what I said a while ago, I really hate paying monthly for things. So with Framer here, I get a good amount of stuff, a site that looks great, all of these types of things, but it's $30 a month. With Card, which is a more economical option, I get a $19 a year, which is just a couple dollars a month. I get 10 sites, which is awesome. I get custom domains. And it's really easy with their templates to create a professional looking site. But, and here's the big but, now I have to go find someone else to set up my email through to have that, that type of email that I discussed earlier, the hi@mywebsite.com. So instead, what I prefer, and I know I'm going to get a lot of eye rolls, is WordPress. WordPress is, I would say, 5 to 10 times harder to understand than Card or Framer. Maybe not Framer. 5 to 10 times harder to understand than Framer. But I've had success with SiteGround, which is my host. I pay them about $60 per year for this Grow Big plan. And you can even get it with the cheaper plan. But the key thing here is I get free emails through them. So after I transfer my domain to their servers, and please leave a comment if you want me to go in depth about how I set up a full website through SiteGround. After I transfer my domain to them, I automatically get a free email, and then I set that up for anybody I'm working on the company with. So we'll have emails like, tim@domain.com, john@domain.com, contact@domain.com. So we'll have, 15 emails for a company, and it's all for the same price. It's not like Google Workspace or something else where I have to pay an additional $5 per user per month or $6 per user per month. I like this because not only am I getting unlimited websites, and this isn't sponsored by SiteGround, not only am I getting unlimited websites, but I'm also getting free emails from me and my teammates. And this is all costing $5 a month compared with Framer, which per site is $30. So for around half a year of WordPress, I can get a month of Framer, and that's not including email or something else like that. So the other thing with WordPress is SiteGround made it easy enough for me to set up. I avoided WordPress for almost 10 years because it was so complex to get set up, but now I'm just using the Blocksy starter themes and SiteGround, and I have no complaints so far. It seems like they've built in security. I'm still pretty new on it, but so far I haven't been hacked, so I'm happy. So now that we have our website set up and we've done all of that, let's think about what happens when, and it doesn't matter how they get there, but what happens when the business owner gets to our website. So the main thing that I see messed up here is it's hard to find costs. And there's a whole bunch of, contact us for a quote, fill out this form, all that type of thing. As a business owner, if you've ever owned a business, you don't have the luxury of having a lot of time or bandwidth to focus on a ton of different things. The whole reason our ideal customer, our ideal cafe owner is looking for social media management is because they don't have enough time. So why would we waste even more of their time with a back and forth over email about, here's our pricing, can you go higher, can you go lower? They don't want to negotiate, and honestly, do we want to negotiate? It takes our precious time. Back to this mindset of a service versus a product. Each negotiation shouldn't be different. Each negotiation should be the same. So let's look at some examples. This is another thing that I would do if I was in this position. I would look all around the world for every type of service like this. So North American advertising, let's just look at some things that we can take inspiration from, not steal, right? Take inspiration from on their website. So number one thing is call now. Wow. Okay. So they let anybody just call them out of the blue. This makes sense because if I put myself in the shoes of a coffee shop owner, I don't want to have to email my social media management company, hey, we're having an event tomorrow. Can you post about it? I want to be able to pick up the phone or send a text and say, hey, event tomorrow, here's what to post, thanks, bye. I don't want to have to think. So I love this on their page. I would probably put something like that on my page or a WhatsApp message. The other thing here I see is, expert level social media and Google advising team. I'm personally going to leave this off because we're just focused on social media for cafes. We're keeping it simple. So here I might write, expert or social media for cafes and really say this is exactly what we're about. The other thing that I really like here, something I wouldn't do is all of this text. It's for me, it's a lot. But something I love is their pricing is straightforward. They're not negotiating each time. So if I want them to manage my advertising, I pay $1,000 a month. It's clear, it's upfront. I go and I'm done, right? Same thing if we look at something like Feedbird, which their landing page, I just want to show as an example. Expert social media management from only $99 a month. Wow. Like, if there's a selling line there, I want to buy it and I don't even need it. So here, what we love is if we go to their pricing, we can just select a package, sign up now, and it's almost like buying something off of Amazon or a physical product or an app. We buy and we're done, which is perfect if we think about the mindset of our ideal customers. They're busy, they just want social media taken care of. I don't want to have to go through a quote process to get it done. All right, I'll get off my productized service high horse here. So after we've set up our pricing table on our website, which again can be done through SiteGround and WordPress, or it can be done through Card. Now we can do some customer research and start sending some emails. So I'm just going to talk about Perplexity for another second and SetApp. So SetApp is a suite of apps that you can get on any Mac. And I use Spark Email, and it has AI within the client under SetApp, so it's included in that subscription cost. And I use Spark Email to be able to email from multiple accounts a lot faster. It also has shared accounts, which is pretty nice. I haven't experimented with it, but I mean it's nice as an option. And then the other two things that I want to run through quickly is Perplexity Labs. So here we're going to say, let's grab that town name again. And again, these AI models, we can use any of them. So now I'm going to switch to Llama 3, which is kind of like GPT-4 in my experience. Give me 20 Tetuan cafe marketing ideas. Be super unique. And here, as you can see, ultra fast. And the best part of this is, again, back to that productizing idea. I can start to like paste previous social media or branding ideas in here from the different clients I'm working with and get results really fast instead of having to come up with all of that myself. I believe Marky also has some AI features built in. I just like this as, questions and answers back and forth, or how can I find more cafe social media clients in the city? Okay, online search, social media, review sites, networking. So we've mentioned all of these. I'm not going to read them all. In-person visits I think is pretty powerful. Local directories, municipal website. That's a really good idea. So I'm only saying this because I have quite a few friends that have never used a LLM or AI tool like this. And I use it just like bouncing ideas off of a friend. I text it and say, hey, here's some ideas I have. Can you expand on this? Can you give me more? So from here, let's go ahead and look at the first idea and apply it. So we're going to use two different, or actually we need to check. There we go. So we're just going to use this keyword generator and see if anybody is searching for this. And this is what we can use for inspiration for business ideas and everything like that. This is what I generally use to see if market demand is there for something. So here we're just searching for the city name. Awesome. And now we have a whole bunch of ideas with, if you've never used a keyword research tool again before, sorry, this is very quick, but um, I highly recommend hopping in here and changing the country to your country, plugging in your city name, because it will be the most enlightening experience of your life. It has been for me in every city I've lived in. I had no idea what people were interested in my city until I plugged it into here. For example, who knew that IKEA was going to be searched for more than 1,000 times each month in just Tetuan? Who knew, all of these terms, like it looks like Meteo, I'm not quite sure what that is, but it looks like that's searched for over 10,000 times a month. And so for me as a social media marketing agency, I want to just kind of know these off the top of my head. So when I'm talking to clients, I can reference that. I can say, hey, have you considered doing a pop-up, on the way to IKEA for your coffee shop, right? Have you considered putting a flyer outside of it? Or maybe we can work together to, figure out a partnership. So these type of tools, super valuable. I didn't want to end the video before diving quickly into that. So what did we do in this video? We went through how to define customers. Small businesses is not, to me, a customer. A customer is a cold brew cafe in Tetuan, or a cafe in Tetuan. I don't think there were any cold brew shops I saw. Then we went through how do we get those first few reviews, right? We should be honest with business owners. We shouldn't lie to them. We should say, hey, I'm just trying to start a social media marketing company. I'm looking for my initial few clients. You don't have to pay anything. Maybe a free coffee or two would be nice, but I would love to do it for your company. As we start to market for those initial teams, we use one of these AppSumo tools that we have a lifetime membership with. We use that as a learning experience. We start to scale that. We get some results, some proof of work. And now on our website, we have content. So we can say, let's set up our website. Let's make TetuanSocialMedia.com a reality. And let's say, here's our proof of work. We posted 10,000 times on this cafe social media account, and we attracted, 100,000 followers. Maybe those numbers are a bit too big, but you get the idea. We also can take screenshots of our client sites, put them on our website to say, hey, here's who we've worked with. Here's the profiles we've worked with. After we've done all of this, we're good to go. Now we start thinking about how do we take this brand even bigger? How do we rebrand? How do we start offering services to cafes in all of Morocco? How do we start offering services? I'm just going to type this out quickly so we can scale up to all of Morocco. Now we can go to all of North Africa. Then we can go to all of EU. Then we can go to worldwide, So this is kind of how I think about this. Instead of starting out in the niche of worldwide advertising, which isn't a niche, how can we start out and scale from there? So hope this was helpful. Again, not trying to give advice, just kind of think of this as we sat down together at a cafe and brainstormed for a little while about how to start a social media marketing company, or how I personally would start a social media marketing company. Not how you should, but how I would. If you enjoyed, please feel free to leave a comment. Ask me to do this for your city. I would love to do a more in-depth video and maybe a conversation about that. And if you have any insights about different tactics that you would use, I would love to hear them. So feel free to reach out. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.